where we are California driven. The Sacramento Republic, they come in at number 3, number 2 with the fans. But it's a kind of a new look team for a Neil Collins side, where they have Malongo on the left, Rodriguez on the right, they have Ajago up top, where they have a lot of just kind of changes throughout, with a lot of players moving on or retiring. So, John, is this front line, this new look front line, good enough to replace what they lost?
It's an interesting conundrum because you look at the players they had last year. Russell Cicerone, Rodrigo Lopez, guys that had been there forever. Corey Bennett, who came in as a midseason addition with a lot of expectations and was good, if not great. And then a Juan Sebastian Herrera, even, who could give you the hold-up play. A lot of known quantity players, but maybe not Neil Collins types, right? Like he wants his forwards to be pretty active, pretty pressureful, and just the age of that front line and maybe the size of those strikers relative to speedier, more press-centric types wasn't entirely fit to the way Collins wants to play ball. So in some sense, it felt like a little bit of continuity from what Mark Briggs wanted to do. This is a different story. Malongo is a speed demon. Ajago has all the physical talent in the world. Rodriguez at least has operated in a lot of systems where he's been forced to be an active presser, a good head on his shoulders in terms of positioning in that phase. I think that is going to be the real change in approach we see for this team. So if they can tilt the field that way, create transition moments, and then just do what they do in the final third, that should be a formula to get them over the hump. And that's probably why the fans have them number 2 in the conference.
Yeah, and like even if you look back to Neil Collins' time at Tampa Bay in the 2018 season when he got promoted into the job, that was kind of a transition year for the team, but he did improve the Rowdies in the following season for 2019. So I do believe with Neil Collins coming into his second year in charge of Sacramento Republic, this will be a very good Sacramento team on top of what we saw from last season. I do think the key that we're going to have to look into for this Republic team is if you look back through the entire club's history from winning the first time that they were a club in 2014 to the now 13th season that they're playing now, 7 of those years, they didn't advance past the first round of the playoffs, including last season as well. So we know the playoffs are kind of a crapshoot when it gets into, especially down to penalties. So I definitely think this Republic team needs to be looking to get past that first round of this year's Western Conference playoffs.
Yeah, John, I kind of want to ask you about this left wing back side, because when we saw Spalding come into Tampa Bay all those years ago under Neil Collins, he looked like he was going to be not just a legit superstar, but a regular starter at the MLS level. It hasn't really worked out, and now you see that we're getting Benitez in what you think is in front of him. What's going to happen with Spalding from that time when he was at Tampa Bay to Sacramento?
I think he's still just a very good soccer player. I want to say there's been a little bit of injury problems. To me, it's just the balance that Benitez gives you. We know, is the best overlapping player you've got in the league, probably. What he gives you up the right side is unmatched, but it can't exist in a vacuum. So you've got to kind of rotate Timmer over. You need to make sure you have a sense of security at that end. And that carries over to the left side. You can't have both of those wingbacks completely selling out at all times unless you just leave yourself open to switches in transition. Benitez is better in that phase of play. If we're talking offensive impact, give me Spalding all day. If we're talking about tucking inside to be a setup passer, doing the rotations and the defensive coverage, I think that's what Sacramento sees in his game. But it's a luxury to have both in case of emergency, for sure.
And even then, this is another Sacramento team who made the formerly named Jägermeister Cup final as well. That this team is very much capable of competing across multiple competitions entering this season.
I also wonder how a normal offseason is going to do Sacramento, because the transition from Briggs to Collins. I mean, do you guys remember the transition of Collins coming to the U.S. where his former club in Scotland was basically like, we don't want him to go, but he's basically crying in the club, and we kind of have to force him to go over here. Like things are not going well. Like talk about a tumultuous way to end your past career and then coming into Sacramento, not necessarily late, but before maybe business could get done and other clubs had kind of gotten some business done. Just a normal offseason for the Republic may do them just a load of wonders.
No, and that's kind of what I was getting at with the rebalance of Collins is just here from the jump. He knows where he wants to take this team after one full season. The formula makes sense. And I do want to shout out in that sense what we got from you and in the comments about Pep Casas. The more I've seen about him and thought about the balance in this midfield, I think he might start over Crisostomo next to Blake Willie. He was so impressive in Huntsville, so impressive in Inter Miami too before that. Kind of diminutive, but really powerful on the ball, good passer, good defensive interventions. Just that little bit of everything powerhouse through the middle. Someone to watch as a breakout player for sure.